It looks like our meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. Welcome out there. Hello, everyone. I'm Ernestine Lyons, your host of Quick to Politic podcast. Thank you for joining us out there live on Facebook. And also thank you to all of you who are watching this or listening to this on the podcast or watching on YouTube. We are joined by a very special guest today. So please welcome me in just giving a big hearty welcome to the Harper Woods family of Rebekah Coleman. So Attorney Coleman was born and raised in Detroit, and she was educated in Detroit public schools and graduated with honors from Cass Tech High School. Her educational journey continued at Michigan State University, where she excelled academically and earned a bachelor's degree in theater. After law school, she went to law school at Wayne State University, and after law school, she went on to get an MBA from the University of Detroit Mercy. And I actually didn't know you went to Wayne State. So, and she also earned an MBA. So I didn't know that either. So I'm learning all kinds of things about you. So welcome. And Attorney Coleman, thank you so much for being on the show. And you have recently made history, becoming our first female judge here in Harper Woods in the 32A District Court, as well as the first African-American judge. So congratulations on that. And, I just wanted to reach out because even though I supported your opponent, but at the same time, I really wanted to make sure you felt welcome. I know when I first, got elected to a local office here in Harper Woods, it wasn't always the warmest feeling of welcome. So I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't the case for you. And, with the historical significance of your election, I wanted folks to get a chance to get to know you better, and let's all hear your story and tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, first, thank you for bringing me on your show. I know you were supporting my opponent, but we still kept in communication. We got to know each other, and you were always respectful. So although we were on opposite sides, we were still able to come together and respect one another. So I appreciate that. So about me, you kind of summed up some of the basics. I was born and raised in the city of Detroit, went through the Detroit public school system. Both of my parents were public figures. For the majority of my life. My mother, the late April Howard Coleman, she was an attorney as well as the school board president for the Detroit Public Schools for a number of years. My father is Judge Donald Coleman. He's been a judge at the 36th District Court since 1992. He's also a pastor. I have 4 brothers, 1 sister, and my father is remarried, so I have a stepmother as well. Very tight-knit family. We do a lot together. The people in the community, when we were out campaigning, many people met my brothers because they were with me almost every weekend. I also have a 3-year-old son. His name is Omari. And let me see what else. I was on a rowing team.
He's just such a sweetie too.
Yes, trying to keep him away from the screen for now. But yeah, I was on a rowing team at Michigan State. A lot of people don't know that, and they're kind of shocked when I tell them that I was. But yeah, I was a college athlete, surprisingly, and I'm an avid runner now. Have a goal of 50 marathons. It was supposed to be by the time I turned 35, but COVID kind of put a stop to that, so it'll have to be 36 now. And I'm a big puzzler. So.
We're the same age, right? Were you born in 85 or 86?
85.
Oh, okay. So you are a year older than me. But okay, so we're both 30, almost 30. Wait, so you are 35 already?
I'll be 35 in a couple weeks.
Oh, so your birthday is in December?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we're both 34.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but yeah, the goal was to make it this year, but that's not gonna happen.
COVID, because like you said, you've already run 1 marathon, or your goal is to run more marathons.
My goal is to complete 50 half marathons.
Okay.
I've completed 1 full and almost 40 halves.
And that's the 13.1, and then a 26.2 is a full marathon.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Well, you know what? Good luck in that. I know that the Free Press they did this, and they're doing the turkey trot. It's virtual, and I'm like, oh, that's not as fun. But yes, yes. So I will support you in those endeavors to run your half marathons and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, okay. So yeah, thank you for telling us a little bit more about yourself. And so I just really want to ask, who are some of your mentors and your role models as far as just female sources of inspiration? We talked about like the significance of you being the first female judge, and so what inspired you to really aim for lofty goals, like one, going to law school and getting an MBA, and just keeping that sort of spirit of excellence and wanting to keep going higher and higher. So who are some of your role models growing up?
Well, my mother was definitely a big role model in my life. She was always a community leader. She taught us how to be bold and fearless and really work to push your community to be the best possible, the best that they possibly could be, regardless to who may come against you. You still strive for excellence. Um, Unfortunately, I lost her at the age of 19, but some of her lessons I still hold near and dear. Another is my aunt Patricia, my father's sister. She kind of just stepped into that place when my mother passed. We were always close, but she lived in Lansing. She actually is a new resident to the city of Harper Woods, so yay for that. But she was a doctor there, and she started a medical practice. And so just seeing her determination, starting with nothing and building this successful practice, was really inspiring for me, and kind of helped me to continue this drive. I kind of a few years ago, I used my mom and my aunt as analogies to my marathons. By the time I get to mile 8, I know that I can, to my half marathons. By the time I get to mile 8, I know, yeah, I can complete this race at this point, but I still need a little bit of a push. So I said, hey, my mother is significant for that 8th mile. And then in the 11th mile is when I really feel the fatigue and the muscle spasms and things of that nature. And I just need that that extra boost. And I say my aunt is mile 11, the extra boost that I needed to get past the finish line. So those two play a really major role. Professionally, Judge Deborah Thomas, I really look up to her. She is a judge who does not just do the bare minimum. She goes above and beyond. She goes across the state of Michigan, making sure that people know about expungements. She's about no nonsense in a courtroom. If she sees that people are not being treated fairly by the prosecutor, she's on the defense docket. I mean, not on the defense, on the criminal docket. She makes sure that either the attorney reevaluates something, go back to the prosecutor's office. She really just makes sure that there's an equal playing field, and I really look up to her for that. And also my grandmothers, both of them have passed on, but to me they represented hope. Um, Unfortunately, in the times that they lived as young women, they were unable to do many things, but now we are the product of them, and standing on their shoulders, the women who fought for civil as well as voting rights. So they're very significant. And I know you said women, but lastly, my son, birthing him birthed, something in me, more of a drive and determination to really go for different goals in life and to really strive for success in everything, because I know that his destiny depends on it.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that. And it sounds like you had folks who were, really some heavyweights in your corner to give you that source of inspiration. And that also, I feel like it's a good analogy for, you being a runner and somebody who is going to keep going, no matter what, and just kind of keep reaching for those goals, which kind of leads me to what got you involved in law? What sparked that interest, and what were some of the things that led you to pursue a career in the legal world, and then ultimately, just kind of wanting to pursue justice and be that person who, is going to become a judge. So what really was that driving factor that made you want to get involved in, understanding our legal structures in this country?
Well, I think I always kind of knew in the back of my mind that I was going to be a lawyer. I mean, I grew up in a house with two lawyers, so it was always there. But I remember a time my father was preparing for a trial, and he had this toy. It was like a ball with cutouts with different shapes, and it was a prop for his trial that next morning. And I had to be in elementary school at the time, maybe even kindergarten, and I was like really amazed by this ball. And he was showing, I believe, that you can't put a heart in a square or whatever the shape was, making stuff not fit. And so seeing that, it was just, I was like, wow, you get to play with toys in court. I want to do this. And so I think that was one of the starting things, just seeing him be able to make references to toys to make the judicial system or the legal system make sense for his arguments. Of course, I did detour for a moment, or at least I believed I did so when I went and studied theater at Michigan State. Um, I wasn't going for acting so much, but more so design work. But got a understanding of the whole system. And then one day when I was given an assignment about my next 5 years, while I was writing it out, I wrote law school. And I was like, hold on, I think I have to go take a test for that. So, I switched up. Of course, I finished that. And I do think that the theater degree actually does help a lot, because I am a trial attorney. Um, well, I'm a judge elect now, but my practice has been a trial attorney, and it really helped me learn how to focus the room, deliver my argument, and just overall presence inside the courtroom. So it did serve a purpose. And seeing some of the injustices in court really drove me to be more passionate about people's rights and their rights not being violated. I can remember a time I had a case. It was a carjacking case, and it was the evidence suggested that it was an unlawful driving away, which is significantly lower than carjacking. Um, and we did the preliminary exam. I gave argument. The judge, he went ahead and bound the case over. But when I went up to him, because I felt that he made the wrong decision. And so when I went up and talked to him, I showed him the jury instructions and everything else. Like, no, your decision was wrong. He told me, oh, well, you can just take it up on a motion at circuit court. Right there, that's when I knew that a difference had to be made, because that's not okay.
Right.
That was a horrible experience, and for my client as well, because most of the time people who have cases, capital cases, they have high bonds and can't get out of jail. So unlawful driving away, they would have had a bond, so they have to stay in jail longer because you decided that I could just take this up on a motion instead of making the right decision. So in that, I knew that I needed to be in the judiciary at some point.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that bit. What I think is really interesting that you did have a theater background, because, I think this was just a natural progression, other than actually going into acting, because there's oration, there's, having a stage presence, having that sort of, it's almost like you have to assume a persona when you're arguing. And, somebody here in the audience did make the comments like, theater is the perfect profession for a trial lawyer. So, it was something that did prep you for being able, especially being, a Black woman. I think sometimes we have that tendency to just be like dismissed, overlooked, and so it allows you to kind of assume that confidence that you're going to need to be able to really advocate for somebody. So that just makes perfect sense. And just kind of being a part of that, you know, being able to step into something that's whimsy and outside of who you really are. And, you know, because you do seem like a quiet person, and the more I get to know you, it's like, you know, it seems that like you can be a little bit of both, you know, just kind of really step into your truth, but, you know, also be that person who is quiet and just kind of watching. So yeah, yeah. So that kind of leads me into, you know, just the importance of representation. You talked about justice and, you know, kind of saying like, oh, that's not right. So, you know, I want to be the person who kind of stands up for, you know, what should really be done. And I think, you know, your kind of symbolic election in the form of like, you kind of represent female leadership, you represent minority leadership, and millennial leadership. And, you know, just so I think we're also facing America's changing sort of landscape. We see that, you know, the people have spoken. And what do you think your election really will signify, and has signified thus far? And what will be your legacy, you know, as far as being the first woman, first person of color in this role as 32A district court judge?
Well, it definitely signifies change. You know, that was my slogan. It's time for a change, and it's significant with the electoral process because it gives the voters the opportunity to pick who they want, and they chose me, and that's, you know, breaking down the the old systems in opening up the doors for many other people to come, because at the end of the day it's not about me, it's about the people that's coming behind, and the the standard that will be set. It also signifies diversity, and not just diversity for the sake of it, but having competent diversity in leadership. We live in a diverse community, so it's very important for us to have diversity across the board. And we don't have to get rid of all of the old, but I do believe that it's necessary to have old, young, middle age, all of us all together, multiple races, because that's what our community is. And so I believe that the election, my election, does signify that as well as opportunity. Because, like I said, this is about those young women, those young girls now, when they become women, seeing that they can do it, because this door has been opened, that they can be bold enough to go forward and go after their dreams as well. That they live in the city of Harper Woods, where it is okay to take that chance to step out and go after their goals, because we're accepted here and they can see that it's been done already. And so that's what this election signify. And my legacy, I pray that it is one where I'm known as the bold woman who went out and went after her goals and fought for it and fought hard for it, and won the majority, and that I'll set the standard of excellence, that, you know, anything beneath it is unacceptable in our city. We're going to be competitive with the other surrounding cities, but not only the small ones but the big ones as well. We can have the same type of programs and opportunities as these other cities that are around us.
Excellent. You know, that was really well said. And, you know, thank you so much for that, because it really does, you know, just kind of like all of that symbolism and that boldness that you know, seek to show, you know, that this is just the beginning. And I do think that it's really good in our community that we have had this wonderful progression, because when you really think about it, I think Judge LaRose, you know, was a very hardliner. And, you know, we talk about like this good old boys club. And I think, you know, he was very strict, overly strict. And, you know, it was also, a sort of different world of Harper Woods. And I think that, your predecessor, Judge Palmer, I think I was behind him for the most part because he was that progressive, face with the truancy court and a lot of the, other programs that were put in place that, people weren't really thinking of. And I think that progressiveness, it just culminated with your election. And I think it really shows that people really want to see that in their judicial system. And it was so funny because like all during the election, in Harper Woods, it was almost like no other race mattered, but the judicial race. And I think that it kind of shows that justice is at the forefront of where people want to see change. And, so they want to continue on, good things that, I personally think that, Judge Palmer stood for. And then now I would really hope that you're going to continue and then take to the next level. So I really think that that kind of shows that, I know a friend of mine's who he had just gotten into law school and then he was killed. He was the victim of a murder. And so like he was victim of the thing that he wanted to fight against. And he said he wanted to be a prosecutor. He was a young African-American man who had like a very bright path ahead of him, but he recognized that he wanted to be a prosecutor because, that's how you continue that, sort of, just making sure that there are progressive people with values that are really important to bringing about greater societal change. So I think that, I really, really am like, honored to welcome you here. And you know that you will have an ally in me. But I really think that, it's just our country is heading in a direction that is it just points to us wanting to as a society continue to climb higher and higher. And so that was another thing. You talk about a legacy, and I'm almost curious. I wanted to know like if some of your plans for your tenure as 32A district court judge can kind of includes continuing some of the programs that Judge Palmer was a champion of, like the truancy court, like the mental health court, and some of those kind of things.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we don't go backwards now. We're gonna continue in those programs and then evaluate what else the community needs in order to progress more. Evaluate the types of resources that are needed. I know personally from practicing in the criminal division that a lot of times when people are placed on probation, it's hey, stay out of trouble. Go get a job, but we're not really equipping them with the proper tools in order to do so. Um, Lack of literacy is very, very prevalent in criminal activity. So I think that it's very important to bring a literacy program into the probation department so that people are trained to have these skills that they need so that they can stay out of trouble, so that they can become progressive people. So we need that. We need different programs for treatment. Drug use and alcohol abuse are also contributing factors that I've seen in criminal activity. We need legal aid across the board for all. Fortunately, in the state of Michigan, the courts have received funding for legal aid in the criminal division across the board, but we still need it for throughout the pendency of cases in landlord tenant as well as civil. People should not only have the right to an attorney in criminal matters. It's very difficult to come to court anyway, but to have to fight against attorneys when you're not trained, and you only have to do that because you don't have the finances is not fair. And we need to change that system. Definitely. So that's another thing. And then technology upgrades. I think that COVID-19 has shown us more than ever how important technology is. It goes beyond Zoom, but just being able to do things through the course website that will cut down on um, in-person contact if it's not needed, and just being accessible more through technology in general. We definitely need that, but I think the biggest thing is community engagement, making sure that people understand what happens in the court, because a lot of times I spend a lot of time with kids at the high school and middle schools, and they think that court is just for criminals and people who get speeding tickets. And it's so much more, especially in the district court. The district court literally touches every aspect of life, of your day-to-day life, I should say. So it's very important for us to have that type of knowledge given out to the community so that they know what's going on, to stay connected. And when it's possible, I do want to have some like community court type things where we go to different venues within the community and do something minor, but court procedures so that people can, in the community, can actually see what goes on in person.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for, answering all of my questions. And, I look forward to, especially with the literacy program, possibly talking about how, I know we push our kids, go to college, get an education, go to college. But, I really think that there is a gap there in, kids recognizing the power of skilled trades and, kids also recognizing, the importance of entrepreneurship and, just kind of being involved in endeavors like that can, really help, folks really understand that there are multiple options for you out there and the world isn't just a cold and scary place with no opportunities for you. So, I look forward to, continuing having those kind of conversations with you. And, I look forward to really good things from you. So as we close it out, what are some, two questions really. What are some words of wisdom that you really want to have for people out there, citizens of Harper Woods and beyond, and anyone listening, to kind of, I don't know, like face the challenges that we really have been dealing with. The coronavirus has writ large, sort of the disparities and the dysfunctional nature of some of our systems that we've had in place for so long. And then after that, we had, just these moments of social and, social upheaval. So what are some ways that, you want people to know that there's hope and to feel inspired?
Well, yeah, that was about 15 questions.
I have a long-winded way of asking questions, and I swear my mom is always like, okay, get to the point. And like, no. I feel like I'm always gonna be like that person who just needs to go on and on. So
It's fine. You should go to law school.
no, I have been thinking about that for an entire year, and I looked at my like LSAT application kind of a portal on the web, and I set that up like 2 years ago. And so, it's really something that I've been seriously thinking about. So
well, it's 3 years, and 3 years they're gonna pass regardless. So, if you want to do it, I say go for it. But my words to my neighbors: if you have a dream, go after it. Go after it. Do not let anybody stop you unless it's, something bad. But we're talking about positive things. You know, there are going to be naysayers no matter how positive the message is, but you have to look past it. I always say, I use David and Goliath. They laughed at David, they talked about him, they put him down. But at the end of the day, that giant was slain. So if you want to do something, and it doesn't matter, don't let anything stop you and get in your way. And as far as, kind of keeping your peace, because I believe that's kind of where you were going with that, find a hobby. Find something that you really enjoy. This time that we kind of have to be away from others, really take a step back and evaluate your life and figure out what it is that you really like, what you want to do, and start working on doing some of those things. Like I said, I'm a big puzzler. So that's my brain activity sometimes. My brain exercises, my relaxation. Find something and dedicate a day to it, dedicate an evening or something so that you can kind of just step away from, the craziness of the world. So.
you know what? I'm glad you said start a hobby, because this was my pandemic hobby, starting a podcast. And, it was something that, it was started last year, but it was so hard to nail down guests and then go meet them and then set up the sound system or either have them come to where I am. And, it was just so much easier to be able to meet via Zoom. So, I did get one question from the audience here. Have you seen literacy integrated into other districts in this way, like through the court?
No, not yet. It's always been something on my mind. I have seen it kind of outsourced, but I want to see if it's a way to kind of bring it inside. And and literacy goes beyond just learning how to read. It could be a financial literacy, computer literacy, different tools so that you come out the best person possible.
Okay. And so this is going to be our last question. And we did get like a nice, robust audience, here that they had all kinds of congratulations and out here on the Facebook Live saying congratulations and welcome. And
And
so
thank you to everybody and thank you to the voters. And I really do look forward to serving my community, because at the end of the day, this is about service and making sure that, I provide to you all what the community needs. And, right now the door can't be that open, but it's open. Send me emails, call the court, let me know what you all need, because that's what I'm here for, to make sure that the community needs are met.
right. Okay. So last question. What do you do for like de-stressing, self-care, and things like that?
Oh, puzzles.
Mhm.
I'll pull out a 2,000 piece puzzle in a minute. And I also I really like logic games. And I know that was on the LSAT. Like that was the one section that I think I got perfect on, because I'll go buy the books and just figure them out. So
See, that's the thing that scares me. I am not a good, standardized test taker. I get test taking anxiety, and it is insane. Like, I mean, I took the GRE. I've taken the foreign service test, and then there were like the Air Force officer qualifying test, and it's just like those are things that kind of like I did not do good on because of the fact that I was so nervous. And those were things that, I knew those areas pretty well. And, that was the thing. I at the time, right before graduate school, I wanted to go into the Air Force as an officer. And, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna take this test, go in as an officer, and then I'll go to grad school. And that was kind of the original plan. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to go about it another way. So, but because I would just get so nervous about those tests. And
yeah. And I
yeah.
think some of it is the mindset, because you know how you just said, I'm not a good test taker. Well,
Mhm.
why aren't you a good test taker? Probably because you keep telling yourself that you're not a good test taker. So we kind of gotta reverse our thinking on stuff. And we're all guilty of, some of
Mhm.
that self-sabotage type stuff. But, I try when things like that come up, hold on, stop. Okay, let me say something positive so that, eventually I can kind of stop those thoughts from coming in, because they really don't do anything for us.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I know that things that I'm just like extra good at and like I excel at, and I'm like, oh, I absolutely love this. And so, that is a good closing, thought that, our mindset is everything, and we become what we think about. And, what we dwell on in a negative way, that's what more becomes like, that's what we attract more of. So, I think it really is important, and it behooves us to be able to always maintain that positive mindset. And that kind of gets back to this podcast. And so thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And I started this to be able to have those conversations around how we can be positive about making things different, how we can be positive about ensuring that we have a amazing legacy, and that we're bringing sunshine and positivity into people's lives, and we're leaving things better once we have left them. And so I want to invite you all to continue to listen to Quick to Politic. And then right over here, if you want to scan this QR code, you can follow me on social media. And so Rebekah, tell us where we can find you, and are there any places that people can reach out to you on social media, or any other avenues you'd care to share?
Yes, most definitely. And I hope I get this right. So right now, the campaign webpage is still up, colemanforjudge.com, spelled out. I'm also on Facebook. I believe it's Rebekah R. Coleman for Judge. And on Instagram, it's Coleman for Judge as well. And I believe that's all spelled out. My email is rcoleman for the number four judge@gmail.com. I respond myself. I am very accessible. So please feel free to reach out, and I'll make sure to get those. All of the links are on the website. So colemanforjudge.com will give you all of the direct access to me.
All right, all right. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And, thank you everybody who watched, asked questions on Facebook. Let me see if we got any more questions. And, and then also for listening and for watching on YouTube as well. So this has been Quick to Politic. I'm your host, Ernestine Lyons. And thank you all for joining. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.